So let's now look at the key aspects of design on a biosafety facility. The first and the foremost thing on any biosafety facility, whether we are building it for the first time or we are assessing the biosafety level of a facility which is to be used for a new organism, or when a new worker is entering a biosafety facility, these are the aspects of risk assessment which one needs to look at as an owner, as an investor, as a worker. It is important to look at a risk assessment which was carried out for a facility to make sure that the facility is safe for the worker and the environment around. So the first thing that needs to be done is the risk assessment. What is the microorganism that we are dealing with? What is the organism in use? What are the different organisms that we would be using in these facilities? What are the operations that we are going to perform? Is it just going to be like in case of COVID-19, we perform an RNA extraction? There are operations like pipetting, centrifugation, and then the DNA gets made out of it, or the pseudo DNA gets done, the thermal cycling gets done, and then you have the result. So when you are dealing with any microorganism, we need to identify all the operations which are being performed in the facility. And then, of course, the most important thing, what are the routes of exposure? Is it inoculation? Is it inhalation? Is it ingestion? Or is it a combination of this? Because a lot of times, like we've seen in case of COVID-19, it's droplets and inhalation both potentially causing an effect apart from indirect contact. So we need to understand the suspected route of infection. And this needs to be systematically approached and written down properly. Once we have done this, we need to understand what are the procedures which could lead to a hazard. What are the what if situations by which I could potentially expose the organism to the environment or to the worker? And what are the procedures that we are going to follow in the facility? So that's the next step of the risk assessment. Based on these two aspects of hazard identification and the procedural identification, we assign a biosafety level from one of those four levels that we talked about, biosafety 1, 2, 3, and 4, keeping in mind the hazard into exposure into vulnerability matrix in mind. And then based on this, decide what are the physical barriers that we need to introduce into the system so that we are making the workplace safe. The most important aspect of risk assessment, which is on the next level, is to ensure that the people who are dealing with biohazard are sufficiently trained. They should be proficient in handling the biohazard. And the second thing is to check the integrity of all the safety equipment which are being used, whether it is the biosafety cabinet, whether it is the centrifuges, any closed equipment which we use in that area has to be integral, calibrated, and has to be in top performing conditions. So the maintenance of these facilities or the equipment which are used becomes very, very important. Based on this risk assessment, which is done in-house, it is always good to get the review of the risk assessment done by an expert who is a subject matter expert or by the local regulatory body. With this, the risk assessment, now you can decide what are the barriers that you need to create. I use a risk assessment matrix. It's a 5x4 matrix, which I use generally when I carry out a risk assessment of a biosafety facility. It is not sacrosanct that this is the only matrix. You could use 5x5, you could use 4x4. What is important is that we need to identify the probability of an occurrence of a biohazard versus its severity, and then decide what biosafety level we will end up with. So when we talk about probability, if it's very frequent or likely that exposure will happen and it is likely to be catastrophic or critical, then the risk is very, very high and gets classified generally into biosafety level 3 or 4. When it comes to a moderate severity and occasional or ascendant probability, because you could accidentally spill a vial, you could accidentally have a pipette break, or you could have a safety cup break. These are occasional or seldom occurrences. Then you could downgrade it and put it again either at BSL 3 or 2. If it's an unlikely event, but it's still catastrophic or critical from a severity perspective, a BSL 2 could do with it. Where it is moderate or negligible, but occasional occurrence, again, you could do with BSL 2. And if it's very unlikely, it is negligible, then BSL 1 is the choice of BSL safety level. And this is the very important aspect. Without a risk assessment, please do not design a facility. Please do not go ahead and work in an area without studying the risk assessment which was carried out in that facility, or deal with a new